The day started like any other for Eli Ward. The morning sky over Clearwater City was a pale gray, the air cool, and the streets filled with the soft hum of Airbuses flying above. He walked to school with his backpack half-zipped, one shoe untied and a half-eaten sandwich in his hand. Eli was 14, quiet and often lost in his own thoughts. He liked drawing dragons in the corners of his notebooks and reading about stars and old myths. Most of his classmates thought he was strange, but he didn't mind. At Clearwater High, everything felt ordinary that day. The students laughed, the teachers rushed between classes, and the school drones floated lazily near the ceiling, scanning for trouble. Eli sat at his usual seat in the back of his science class. The teacher, Mr. Hargrove, was talking about chemical reactions, waving his hands in excitement as he dropped a tablet into a glass of water. It fizzed and turned blue. The class clapped half-heartedly. Eli barely listened. His mind drifted, as it often did, to the old stories he liked, the ones about dragons and fire and things that couldn't be explained. His mom always told him not to daydream too much, but he couldn't help it. He liked the idea that there was still mystery in the universe, even in a time where everything was scanned, tested, and explained. He felt a tickle in his nose, sudden and sharp. He reached for a tissue, but it was too late. He sneezed. It was a loud, echoing sneeze, followed by something no one could believe. A burst of orange light exploded from his mouth and nose, a rush of heat that set the front of his desk on fire. The entire room froze. For half a second no one moved. Then the desk cracked, a small tongue of flame licking the papers scattered across it. "Fire!" someone shouted. The class erupted in panic. Chairs toppled, students screamed, and the school drone flashed red lights as it sprayed foam into the air. Mr. Hargrove grabbed a fire extinguisher, stumbling toward Eli. When the white cloud cleared, the fire was gone, but the mark it left was burned deep into the desk. It looked like wings, black and sharp. Everyone stared at Eli. His hands shook. He could still feel heat on his lips. I don't know how," he stammered. Mr. Hargrove blinked at him. "Eli, are you all right?" "I think so," Eli whispered. His breath came out warm, glowing faintly orange. Within minutes the principal was there. Then the police. Then people Eli didn't recognize. Men and women in gray suits with glowing wristbands that displayed strange symbols. They asked questions he didn't understand. Was it an implant malfunction? Have you been exposed to synthetic material? Any off-world contact? Eli shook his head again and again. No. I'm just me. They took samples from his desk, scanned his hands and even checked his breath. The readings confused them. There was no sign of any device or chemical reaction. It was as if the fire had come from him alone. By the end of the day, the video had already spread. Every student had recorded it on their wrist comms. The news headline appeared before sunset. Boy sneezes fire in class. Miracle or mutation? At home, Eli sat at the kitchen table while his mother, Margaret Ward, paced the floor. She looked pale, her hands shaking as she stared at him. "Eli," she said softly, "something like this doesn't just happen. You could have been hurt. Someone could have been hurt." "I didn't mean to," he said. "It just happened." "I know." She stopped and took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you." Eli looked up. "What?" She sat down across from him. "You weren't born in a hospital," she said slowly. "You were found 14 years ago. The night the meteor fell outside town." He stared at her. "You mean, I'm adopted?" "Yes." She looked down at her hands. "You were a baby. Wrapped in something metallic like silver cloth. I thought it was a miracle you were alive. There was no sign of where you came from." Eli tried to speak, but no words came out. His chest felt tight, his throat dry. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't know what it meant. I just wanted you to have a normal life." He stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was dark, filled with stars. But as he looked closer, he saw something strange. Small lights moving, not like planes or satellites. They shifted and curved, like glowing wings in the distance. "Mom," he whispered, "do you see that?" She joined him, her eyes widening. The lights grew brighter, splitting into dozens of shapes. They looked alive, moving in perfect rhythm. "I think they're looking for something," Eli said quietly. That night he couldn't sleep. The image of the flames haunted him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw fire curling around his hands, golden and soft, not burning but alive. And in the fire he thought he heard a voice, not loud but clear. "Flame-born," it whispered. Eli sat up in bed, heart pounding. The word felt familiar, even though he had never heard it before. He looked at his hands again. Under the skin, faint golden lines shimmered like veins of light. The next morning things grew worse. Reporters filled the street outside their house. Scientists demanded interviews. Drones hovered above the roof. His mom tried to keep them away, but people kept shouting questions. Is the boy human? Is it genetic? Is it alien? By afternoon, the government announced an investigation. A security officer knocked on their door, calm but firm. Mrs. Ward will need to take your son for testing. It's for everyone's safety. Eli looked at his mother, terrified. Mom? She shook her head. No. He's not going anywhere. But before the officer could respond, the ground shook. The sound was deep, like thunder, but closer. The windows rattled. Outside, a bright golden light filled the sky. People screamed and ran as shadows passed over them, massive, moving shapes that blocked out the sun. Eli ran outside, his heart pounding. Above him, enormous figures descended through the clouds, creatures that looked like dragons made of metal and light. Their wings burned with orange fire, and their eyes glowed like suns. The air vibrated with their voices, not spoken but heard inside his head. We have found you, they said. The Flameborn has awakened. The soldiers on the street raised their weapons, shouting orders. The dragons didn't move to attack. They simply hovered, watching. One of them lowered its head, its scales shining silver and gold. Eli felt heat rush through his body again, the same warmth from before. Flames danced around his fingers, but this time they didn't frighten him. They felt like they belonged. The lead dragon's voice filled his mind. Do not fear, young one. You are of us. Eli whispered, Who are you? We are your kin, the voice said. And you are the spark that was left behind. All around, people screamed and ran, but Eli couldn't move. His heart raced, his skin glowed faintly, and for the first time in his life he didn't feel strange. He felt seen. The dragon's golden eyes watched him closely. Come with us, it said. You have much to learn. Eli stood frozen as the flames around him slowly faded, leaving only a faint glow on his skin. The world around him had changed forever, and he knew nothing would ever be normal again. That night, the city sky burned with wings of light. And somewhere deep inside, Eli felt a small voice whisper again. Flameborn. He didn't understand it yet, but he knew one thing. Something far greater than Earth had just noticed him. And it wasn't going to let him go. The next morning, Clearwater City didn't wake to its usual calm. People everywhere were talking about the lights in the sky and the strange fire from the boy who sneezed. News screens glowed on every corner, showing shaky videos of metallic wings moving through the clouds. Governments were sending warships to orbit. Scientists argued on television. Some said it was a hoax. Others whispered that it might be the first contact in history. Eli Ward sat by his window, watching reporters gather outside his home. Drones hovered in the air like flies, snapping pictures of every shadow. His mother, Margaret, had locked the doors and turned off every screen. She was pale and silent. The house felt smaller than ever. Eli's phone buzzed with messages. His classmates, strangers, and even people claiming to be scientists. Some begged him to come out and talk. Others called him dangerous. He wanted to scream, but the only sound that left his mouth was a faint crackle of heat. He looked down at his hands. The faint golden glow beneath his skin hadn't faded overnight. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. He rubbed at it, but the light only grew brighter. His mom placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. Eli, she said softly, we need to leave the city. They'll come for you. Who? He asked. She hesitated. Everyone. Before she could say more, a sudden deep sound shook the house. The walls trembled, the windows rattled, and the street outside filled with shouts. Eli ran to the window. The sky was glowing red and gold. Above the city, something vast was descending. It wasn't a plane or a ship, it looked alive. Its shape was long, scaled, and bright, wings spreading wide enough to block out the sun. Flames trailed from its tail like ribbons of light. The air itself seemed to vibrate. People screamed. Cars stopped. The air was filled with the scent of burning ozone. And then another one appeared, smaller, sleeker, scales shining like polished steel. Then another. Soon there were dozens circling the city in silence. Eli felt the warmth inside him rise again. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the beating wings above. He heard whispers in his mind, not voices exactly but thoughts deep and ancient. We are near. The flame stirs. Down the street, soldiers and armored drones began to fill the area. They formed a perimeter around the neighborhood, weapons ready. The sound of engines echoed above as fighter jets streaked across the sky. Stay inside, a soldier shouted through a speaker. By order of the Global Security Council, this area is under quarantine. Eli's mother pulled him away from the window. Don't let them see you, she said. But it was too late. A beam of golden light passed over the house, gentle but powerful. The air grew warmer. The roof cracked. A shadow fell across the yard, a massive silver-scaled creature landing silently on the street. Its eyes were bright and deep, reflecting the flames that burned within. The soldiers opened fire. Bullets sparked harmlessly against its scales. The dragon didn't fight back. It simply lowered its head and spoke, not aloud but into everyone's mind. We come for the Flameborn, it said. Do not resist. Eli felt the words echo in his chest. The dragon's eyes turned toward the house, locking onto him. The glow under his skin flared. He couldn't hide. Mom, he whispered, they're here for me. Margaret held his hand tightly, tears in her eyes. You're my son, she said. No one takes you away. The front door blew open before she could finish. The golden light filled the house, not burning but blinding. When Eli blinked, he found himself standing outside, face to face with the silver dragon. It was enormous, its head larger than their car, its wings folding neatly behind it. When it spoke again, its deep voice rumbled like thunder. You are of our kin, it said. Do not fear. Eli took a step back. I'm human, he said, his voice trembling. The dragon's golden eyes softened. Yes, it said, but not only human. You carry the spark of our fire, the lost flame that binds worlds. I don't understand, Eli whispered. You will, the dragon said. Come with us. Your kind is in danger because of what you are. Margaret ran forward. He's just a boy, she cried. The dragon lowered its head. He is more than that. The signal that awoke us came from him. His fire called across the stars. Now others will come, those who wish to destroy what remains of our kind. The soldiers shouted orders and drones began to close in. The dragon turned its gaze toward them. A wave of light swept through the street, and every machine froze in place. Their engines died. Their weapons melted like wax. The air around Eli shimmered with heat. The glow from his skin flared brighter, pulsing with each heartbeat. Flames flickered between his fingers again, harmless but alive. The dragon looked down at him with something that almost looked like pride. You are awakening, it said. You must learn to control the flame or it will consume you, and your world. Eli shook his head. I can't go with you. The dragon tilted its head slightly. You already have. The fire within you will draw us together, whether you wish it or not. The air shimmered again as more dragons descended, some golden, some bronze, some black as midnight. They formed a circle around the neighborhood, their wings stirring the wind. People watched from a distance, terrified and awed. The silver dragon raised its head. I am Valian, guardian of the Emberborn. I claim the Flameborn child under our protection. Soldiers opened fire again, but their bullets turned to dust before they reached him. Valian looked at Eli. You must choose, he said. Come with us and learn the truth, or stay and watch your world burn. Eli's heart raced. He looked at his mother. Tears filled her eyes, but she nodded. If this is who you are, she said softly, then go find out why. He turned back to the dragon. Will I come back? If you wish, Valian said. But when you return, you will not be the same. Eli hesitated, then stepped forward. The dragon lowered its massive claw and he climbed onto it. The scales felt warm like smooth metal in sunlight. The soldiers shouted. The dragons spread their wings. With a single beat, the air roared. The city below shrank into lights and smoke as they rose higher and higher, into the clouds, into the thin blue above. Through the swirling air, Eli looked down one last time. His mother stood in the yard, small and still, looking up as the dragons carried him away. Above the clouds, the sky turned black and endless. The stars shone brighter than he'd ever seen them. Far ahead, a great silver ship hovered in orbit, shaped like a dragon's head, glowing with inner fire. Valian's voice rumbled softly. Welcome home, Flameborn. Eli stared in awe. Home, he whispered. The dragon's golden eyes gleamed. Yes. You were born from the stars and now the stars are calling you back. As they entered the ship, Eli felt the warmth inside him flare once more. It didn't burn, it sang, a soft hum that matched the rhythm of the ship's heart. The sky behind them glowed red and gold, and for the first time in human history, the heavens burned with wings. The stars looked close enough to touch. From the window of the great silver ship, Eli Ward stared at the endless night, his reflection small against the vast glow of the universe. He still couldn't believe he was there, carried into space by dragons made of metal and light. The ship hummed softly, alive with a warmth that felt almost like breathing. Every wall seemed to shimmer with faint orange light, like living fire hidden under glass. He sat quietly in a wide hall that looked both natural and built. The walls curved like bone, but pulsed like veins of molten gold. Across from him stood Valian, the silver dragon who had taken him from Earth. The great creature's wings were folded close, and his golden eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Eli still didn't know how to speak to him. Every word felt too small. "Where are we going?" he asked finally. "To the Ember Citadel," Valian said. His voice was deep and calm, but Eli could feel it in his chest more than he heard it. "It is the heart of what remains of our kind. It is where your fire began." "My fire?" Eli asked, looking down at his hands. The glow beneath his skin was brighter now. When he focused, he could feel heat stirring just beneath the surface, like a heartbeat made of flame. Valian nodded slowly. "You carry what was thought lost, the ember of the first flame. Once, it burned in the hearts of all who ruled the skies. Then it was stolen and our kind began to fade. We searched the stars for it. And then you sneezed." Eli blinked. "That's how you found me? Because I sneezed fire?" The dragon's deep laugh rumbled like a small earthquake. "Yes. Even the smallest spark can wake the oldest flame." The ship trembled slightly as it entered orbit around a glowing red world. Below, the surface shimmered like living metal, covered in molten rivers and islands of black stone. The sight stole Eli's breath. "That's your home?" he asked. "One of them," Valian said. "Long ago there were many. But this one still remembers the old songs." When the ship landed, the air that rushed inside was warm and thick, but not hard to breathe. The ground beneath Eli's shoes pulsed faintly, glowing red in rhythm with the ship's light. Massive structures stretched across the horizon, towers shaped like claws, bridges of glass and gold, and statues of dragons that glowed from within. Dragons of every color moved across the citadel, gold, bronze, red, black, even blue. Some were large as mountains, others small enough to walk beside him. Their scales reflected light like mirrors. And every one of them stopped and bowed their heads as Eli passed. He felt his heart race. "Why are they doing that?" "They know what you are," Valian said softly. "You are the heir to the first flame." Eli shook his head. "But I'm not one of you." "Not yet," the dragon replied. They led him into a vast chamber shaped like a circle. The floor was a pool of still, glowing lava, and above it floated a crystal of golden fire, held in place by nothing. The air vibrated softly, almost like music. It wasn't loud, but Eli could feel it in his bones. "What is that?" he whispered. "The Song of Embers," Valian said. "It is the voice of our fire. It speaks only to those who carry it within." As he stepped closer, the light from the crystal grew stronger. His hands began to glow brighter in answer. The warmth inside him pulsed faster, matching the rhythm of the crystal's hum. He felt dizzy but not afraid. Then he heard it, a voice, faint and distant, singing in words he didn't understand. It wasn't like hearing with his ears. It was inside his mind, soft and old, filled with both sorrow and hope. The voice whispered, "Flame born of the lost world, the fire knows you." Eli froze. "Did you hear that?" he asked, turning to Valian. The dragon lowered his head. "No. The song speaks only to you now." The light around the crystal flared suddenly, and a stream of golden fire rose into the air. It swirled around Eli, wrapping him in warmth. His heart pounded, his body trembling as images filled his mind. Dragons flying through endless skies, cities made of flame and light, and a great war that turned stars to ash. He saw a man, human but glowing like fire, standing beside the dragons. His eyes burned gold, and from his mouth came the same flame that now lived inside Eli. The man raised a hand, shouting words that shook the heavens. Then everything went dark. The fire faded and Eli dropped to his knees. He gasped for air, sweat on his face. The glow under his skin dimmed again, though not completely. "What did you see?" Valian asked. "I think," Eli took a shaky breath. "I saw you. And someone like me. But older. Stronger." The dragon's eyes gleamed. "Then it is true. The Flameborn were not only dragons. Long ago your kind and ours were one. The first fire bound us together." Eli stood slowly. His legs were weak, but he felt different, lighter, stronger, like something had unlocked inside him. "Why me?" he asked. "Why was I the one left?" "The fire chooses its keeper," Valian said. "It does not ask permission." Before Eli could speak again, the walls shook. A deep sound rumbled across the citadel, and the dragons outside roared in alarm. The air grew colder, the lights flickering. Valian's head turned sharply. "No," he whispered. "They found us." "Who?" Eli asked. "The Frostbound," Valian said. "The ones who stole the flame and tried to end it. They have followed your light across the stars." Through the chamber walls, Eli saw massive shapes appearing in the sky, dark ships shaped like claws, their edges glowing blue with frozen fire. Lightning cracked across the surface as explosions echoed in the distance. Valian spread his wings, molten light running along his scales. "Stay here. The Citadel will protect you." Eli reached out. "Wait. What can I do?" The dragon turned to him. "Listen to the song. It will tell you when to rise." And then he was gone, flying into the storm of light and ice above. Eli stood trembling as the chamber shook again. The crystal of flame pulsed faster now, like a heartbeat in panic. The voice in his mind returned, stronger than before. "Flameborn, your world burns again. Will you rise or will the fire die?" He took a deep breath. He didn't understand everything, but he knew one thing. If he did nothing, the dragons would die, and so would the fire that connected them. He stepped toward the crystal again. The flames reached out to him like hands. This time he didn't resist. He touched it. The fire didn't burn, it merged. The warmth rushed through him, filling his chest, his arms, his eyes. He saw everything, the dragons fighting in the skies, the world trembling beneath their wings, and above it all, a shadow made of ice and hate. He could hear the song clearly now. It wasn't just a voice, it was a promise. He raised his hands. Fire roared to life. The air filled with golden light, and the walls of the chamber shook as if cheering. The flames took shape around him, wings of light and heat unfurling from his back. He wasn't just human anymore. He was something in between, born of fire and flesh. The song whispered one last time, "Go, Flameborn. The sky awaits." Eli looked toward the open sky above the citadel. The battle raged, but he no longer felt fear. He felt the flame inside him, strong and alive. And with a single blazing leap, he took to the air. The sky above the Ember Citadel burned with fire and ice. Golden dragons clashed with black ships that poured blue lightning across the red world. The air itself screamed as explosions shook the horizon. Mountains cracked and rivers of molten rock turned to steam. Eli flew among it all, his new wings of flame spreading wide. He could feel the heat of battle around him, the voices of dragons echoing in his head like a chorus. Valian's voice cut through the storm. "Stay close, Flameborn. The Frostbound seek you above all else." Eli flew beside him, his heart pounding. He still didn't fully understand how his wings worked. They weren't real, made of light, of fire, but they obeyed his thoughts. He moved as if he'd done it his whole life. His body no longer felt heavy, it felt like air and heat and purpose. Everywhere, dragons battled ships that looked like floating shards of ice. The frostbound ships released beams that froze everything they touched. One of them hit a bronze dragon, and she fell screaming, her wings covered in frost before she shattered in midair. Eli's chest ached. "We have to help them." Valian roared, flames spilling from his mouth. "Then help. The fire inside you was not given to hide." Eli looked down at his hands. The golden light under his skin blazed brighter. He stretched his arm toward the nearest ship. The moment he did, fire leapt from his palm, a long stream of orange and gold. It struck the ship's frozen hull and melted it instantly. The vessel spun out of control and exploded in a burst of blue light. He gasped. "I did that." "Yes." Valian called. "Now again." Eli's fear turned into focus. He moved through the sky, throwing bursts of flame from his hands. Each blast was guided by instinct, not thought. It felt natural, like breathing. One by one, the smaller ships began to fall. But the sky was still full of shadows. The frostbound fleet was massive, their largest ship dark as night, glowing faintly blue at its center. From that ship came a voice, cold, distant, and full of hatred. "So the child awakens," it said, echoing across the air. "The stolen flame burns again." Eli froze. "Who is that?" Valian's wings flared. "Their leader. The Frost King. He was once of the flame before he turned it cold." The voice spoke again, louder now. "You do not belong to them, child of Earth. The dragons will use you as they did before. Come to me and I will free you from the fire's curse." Eli shook his head. "You froze their world. You killed them." "Because the flame brings only war," the voice said. "Fire burns everything it touches. You will see that soon enough." Before Eli could answer, the Frost King's ship fired. A beam of pale blue light shot downward, striking the citadel. The impact tore through the towers, splitting the ground apart. The lava rivers froze in an instant. No! Valian roared. He dove toward the ground, flames streaming behind him. Eli followed, his heart racing. The citadel was breaking apart. Dragons fell from the sky, some burning, some frozen. The Song of Embers, the great crystal that had spoken to Eli, was glowing too brightly now, its voice a cry of pain echoing in his mind. Flameborn, protect the fire. Do not let it die. Eli landed hard near the chamber. The crystal was shaking, cracks spreading across its golden surface. The air was filled with sparks and heat. He reached out to it. I'm here. What do I do? The voice inside him whispered, you must become the flame. He looked at his hands, trembling. How? Valian crashed beside him, half his body scorched, one wing torn. Eli, he said weakly, the song will die if the Frost King takes it. You are its only chance. You must bond with it. Eli's eyes widened. Bond with it? That could kill me. The dragon smiled faintly. Then the flame will die with you. But if you live, you will be more than either man or dragon. The Frost King's ships filled the sky, their cold light dimming the fire below. Eli could see the massive black vessel descending. The air froze around him. He felt the warmth in his chest flickering, struggling to stay alive. He closed his eyes. Okay, he whispered. Then I'll try. He stepped into the light of the crystal. It flared instantly, the brightness blinding. He felt heat consume him, fire filling every part of his body, rushing through his veins like living energy. He screamed, but it wasn't from pain, it was from power. He saw visions again, the first flame, the birth of dragons, the bond between man and fire. The voice of the song spoke clearly now. We remember you, Flameborn. The fire was yours before it was ours. When Eli opened his eyes, the world looked different. He could see the air moving, see the heat lines running through the earth. His body glowed brighter than any flame. The cracks in the crystal closed, its power flowing into him completely. Valian stared at him in awe. You are the song now. Eli looked up at the Frost King's ship, his eyes burning gold. Then it's time to end this. He rose into the sky again, faster than before. The Frost King's fleet opened fire, beams of blue light cutting across the air. Eli didn't dodge. The fire around him flared, swallowing every blast. He pointed both hands forward and the flames erupted, not orange this time but white-hot gold. The ships melted in seconds, their frozen metal turning to vapor. Only the Frost King's ship remained. It hovered in silence, its hull glowing cold and dark. Then it opened like a flower, and from within came a figure, a tall, thin shape covered in armor made of frost. Its eyes were blue and sharp as ice. You cannot win, the Frost King said. You are fire, and fire always dies. Eli floated in front of him, his flames flickering in the cold air. Then I'll burn brighter before I do. They clashed in a storm of fire and frost. Every strike shattered the air, every blow cracked the sky. Flames and ice danced together, each trying to consume the other. Below, dragons watched in silence, the world trembling beneath the battle. The Frost King struck hard, his cold power freezing Eli's wings. The fire dimmed for a moment. The Frost King smiled. You are still human. You are still weak. Eli gritted his teeth. Maybe I am human, he said, his voice low and steady, but that's why I won't stop. He reached deep inside to the warmth that had been with him since his first sneeze, the spark that had called the dragons. He let it grow. The song inside him sang again, louder than ever. The flames burst free, brighter than sunlight, wrapping him in light so fierce the Frost King stumbled back. The fire spread across the sky, pushing away the cold. The frost-bound ships melted, falling in streams of molten metal. The Frost King screamed as his armor cracked, ice melting from his body. Eli hovered before him, his voice calm. The flame doesn't just destroy, he said. It gives life. And with one last burst of light, the Frost King vanished, his cold fading into nothing. The battle ended. The dragons roared, their voices filling the heavens. The sky turned gold again, the world below glowing with heat and life. Eli floated in silence, exhausted but alive. The flames around him dimmed, folding back into his skin. Valian flew up beside him, smiling weakly. You have done what even the ancients could not, he said. Eli looked out across the stars. I didn't want to be a hero, he said softly. I just didn't want to be afraid. Valian nodded. That is what makes you one. The war was over. But Eli knew the fire inside him would never rest. It wasn't just a gift, it was a promise. The smoke had faded. The sky above the Ember Citadel was calm again, the first stars blinking through the red mist. The war was over. The frost-bound fleet had fallen, their ships melted into rivers of glass that now shimmered under the glow of the molten fields. The air was still warm, humming with quiet life. Eli Ward stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the ruined battlefield. The light of his own fire still flickered faintly beneath his skin, though he could no longer hear the song inside him as clearly as before. He felt empty and full at the same time, like a flame that had burned too long but still refused to die. Behind him the dragons gathered. Some were wounded, others tired but all alive. Valian, the great silver dragon, stood closest, his scales dimmer now, his wing torn from battle. Yet his eyes shone with pride and something almost like peace. "You have done what none of you could," Valian said softly. "You carried the flame through death and brought it back to life." Eli looked at the glowing horizon. "I didn't do it alone," he said. "You all fought. You believed in me when I didn't even understand what I was." The dragon's deep laugh rumbled through the warm air. "Belief is the first spark. You gave us the fire to follow again." All around, the other dragons bowed their heads, their massive forms reflecting the firelight like golden mirrors. Eli felt small among them but for once not out of place. The warmth in his chest pulsed softly, steady and calm. "Is it really over?" he asked quietly. "For now," Valian said. "But peace is not the end of fire, it is its breath. The flame must be watched, guarded, shared. That is your task now." Eli frowned slightly. "My task?" "You are the flame-born," Valian said. "You carry the song now. Its voice lives in you." Eli looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly, a soft gold that didn't burn. "I don't know if I can lead anyone. I'm just a boy from Earth." Valian lowered his head, his golden eyes kind. "Then you will lead as a boy from Earth. With heart, not fear. That is what our kind forgot." Eli didn't answer right away. He stared at the horizon where the fire met the stars. For the first time the light looked gentle. Not something that destroyed, but something that warmed. The dragons began to rebuild their citadel, melting frozen stone back into glowing walls. The rivers of lava flowed again, bringing warmth to the land. The great crystal that had once been the Song of Embers was gone, its power now part of Eli. But everywhere he walked, small flames bloomed in his footsteps, harmless and bright. Days passed. The sky cleared and the air grew calm. Dragons returned from across the system, answering the call of the reborn fire. They built new homes and carved new songs into the mountain walls. And everywhere Eli went among them, learning, listening and teaching what he could. But he couldn't stop thinking about Earth. About his mother Margaret, standing alone as the dragons took him away. The thought never left him. One evening, as the twin moons of the Ember world rose over the molten plains, he turned to Valian. "I want to go back," he said. "To tell her I'm all right." The dragon nodded slowly. "The fire within you belongs to all worlds. It will always guide you home." The next day the dragons gathered once more. A ship unlike any other was made for him. A vessel shaped like a dragon's wing, powered not by engines but by flame. When Eli touched it, the metal glowed faintly gold. It responded to his heartbeat. "Are you sure you wish to return?" Valian asked. "The humans may not understand you now." Eli smiled faintly. "Maybe not. But I understand myself." Valian lowered his massive head until his eyes were level with Eli's. "Then go, Flameborn. The stars are your home but so is the world that gave you breath. Carry the fire to them, not as a weapon but as light." Eli placed a hand against the dragon's snout. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For everything." The dragon's voice was soft. "We will meet again. Fire always finds its own." As the ship lifted off, the dragons roared together, their voices rising into the sky like a song of farewell. The world of fire grew smaller behind him, until it was just a bright spark in the distance. Eli sat in silence as the stars stretched before him. The ship moved faster than anything human had ever built, guided by the living flame inside him. He could feel the song again, soft, calm and warm. It didn't speak in words anymore. It simply hummed, a melody of life. When Earth came into view, Eli's heart ached. The blue world looked peaceful, small and familiar. He landed outside Clearwater City, far from where the crowds had once gathered. The streets were quiet now. No one knew he was coming. He walked home under a dawn sky. The old houses were the same, though a few had scorch marks from the day the dragons came. His mother's house still stood. The garden was overgrown, the lights dim. He stepped up to the door and knocked softly. For a moment there was no answer. Then the door opened. His mother stood there, older, tired, but still the same. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "Eli?" she whispered. He smiled faintly. "Hey, Mom." She covered her mouth with her hands, tears filling her eyes. "They said you were gone, that you were taken?" "I came back," he said. "I had to." She threw her arms around him, holding him tight. He hugged her back, careful not to let the warmth inside him burn too bright. For the first time in what felt like forever, he felt home. When she pulled away, she noticed the faint golden glow on his skin. "You're different." "Yeah," he said softly. "But I'm still me." They sat together as the sun rose, light spilling through the window. Eli told her about the dragons, the citadel, the song, and the battle that ended the war. She listened in silence, her hand never leaving his. "So what happens now?" she asked quietly. Eli looked out the window. I need to help both worlds now. The dragons lost their fire once. Humans might do the same if they're not careful. Maybe the flame was meant to be shared." His mother smiled, tears still shining. "You always believed in something bigger," she said. "Now you've seen it." He nodded. "Yeah. And it's beautiful." Outside, the morning sky grew brighter. For a moment, Eli thought he saw something far above, a shadow with wings of light, circling silently before vanishing into the sun. He smiled. The fire within him pulsed softly, warm and calm. The song hummed once more, not a command but a promise. The flame endures. Eli stood and stepped outside, feeling the sunlight on his face. He reached out his hand and a small flame danced above his palm. It flickered but did not burn. It glowed like hope. He closed his fingers gently around it, holding it close. "Not as a weapon," he whispered, "but as light." The sun rose higher, its rays golden across the quiet street. And for the first time since the day he sneezed fire at school, Eli Ward felt peace, not just within himself but in the world around him. Far above, unseen by human eyes, dragons flew once more through the stars. Their wings shone with living fire, and their voices carried through the void, a song of rebirth, of warmth, of life renewed. The flame had returned. And this time it would never go out.